Last Sunday, Jared spoke of how in Jesus we have a future full of hope. And he began by focusing on the hope of the divine presence, the one who is with us, the one who is within us. And we see the implications of this played out in today's reading. Back in November, we saw how one of the ways John's gospel was different from Matthew, Mark, and Luke is that John includes more detail about the conversations Jesus had and about what Jesus actually said. And the whole of John's gospel, chapters 14, 15, 16, and 17 are conversation. They are a they sort of detail the final conversation, the conversation Jesus had the night before he died. These were his last hours with his disciples. And so he uses them. He uses them to prepare his disciples, not just for what was about to happen to him, but also for his hopes for what they were going to do after his death and resurrection. You know, he was preparing them for this task that he was entrusting them with, to continue the work that he had begun, his mission to the world. He begins that conversation in John chapter 14 by allaying their fears. Don't worry, he says. Bad things are going to happen, but it's all still part of God's plans, and we will be with you, and you will know my peace. So that's chapter 14 in a nutshell. And then we get to chapter 15. In chapter 15, he begins to talk about his hopes for what the disciples are going to carry on doing once he is no longer with them, his plans for their mission to the world. And he begins talking about them by sharing an image. And it's one of my favorite images, and it's there in today's reading. So Emily is going to read to us now from John chapter 15, verses 1 to 8. Over to you, Emily.
Jesus said, I am the true vine, and my Father is the gardener. He cuts off every branch in me that bears no fruit, while every branch that does bear fruit, he prunes so that it will be even more fruitful. You are already clean because of the word I have spoken to you. Remain in me, as I also remain in you. No branch can bear fruit by itself. It must remain in the vine. Neither can you bear fruit unless you remain in me. I am the vine, you are the branches. If you remain in me and I in you, you will bear much fruit. Apart from me, you can do nothing. If you do not remain in me, you are like a branch that is thrown away and withers. Such branches are picked up, thrown into the fire, and burned. If you remain in me, and my words remain in you, ask whatever you wish, and it will be done for you. This is to my Father's glory, that you bear much fruit, showing yourselves to be my disciples.
Thank you, Emily. Jesus begins by saying, I am the true vine. I am the true vine. And hearing these words, his disciples would have been reminded of the vine as the image for the nation of Israel. The Old Testament scriptures often use that image of the vine to refer to Israel and Israel's purpose for the world. Listen to these words, for example, in Psalm 80. You brought a vine out of Egypt. You drove out the nations and planted it. You cleared the ground for it, and it took root and filled the land. The mountains were covered with its shade, the mighty cedars with its branches. It sent out its boughs to the sea, its shoots as far as the river. Here's an image of Israel in all her glory, bringing blessing to the world. But then Psalm 80 goes on to say this, and it's a wee bit disturbing. Your vine is cut down. It is burned with fire. At God's rebuke, the people perish. And it's a sort of worrying sentiment that's echoed in the prophets. Here's what Isaiah says, for example, in Isaiah chapter 5. Now you dwellers in Jerusalem and men of Judah, judge between me and my vineyard. What more could have been done for my vineyard than I have done for it? When I looked for good grapes, why did it yield only bad grapes? In other words, something has gone wrong. Although they were the chosen people, chosen to bring blessing to the world, it hadn't worked. Although they had been given the law of Moses, somehow they had strayed from keeping the law of Moses. Although they were meant to produce such good fruit, they hadn't been producing good fruit. They'd been producing bad fruit. And now Jesus is saying, I am the true vine, the true vine. And it's a statement that immediately sets itself at odds with the religious leaders of the day. And they're teaching that you have to keep the law of Moses, and that is the way to God. Keeping the law of Moses hadn't worked, says Jesus. Now it's time to start again. I am the true vine. Yes, you need to put your faith not just in keeping the law, but in me. It's also a statement that, if you think about it, is at odds with the sort of pluralist sentiments of the age we live in today. You know, the sentiments that say, surely all roads lead to God. Surely it would be narrow-minded to believe anything else. Surely to say, I am the true vine is exclusive. It's you need to be more open than that. And true, it would be narrow-minded. It would be exclusive. If it weren't for the fact that the one doing the talking here is God himself. I am is the Old Testament name for God. And Jesus is using it deliberately here because he knows what it means. He knows the implications. I am the true vine, he says. Religious laws and religious teachings and philosophies, they can only get you so far. But if you want to be part of God's plans for the world, if you want to bear fruit, if you want to make a difference, if you want to bring goodness and life into the world, then I am the true vine. You need to connect to me. That's the way. That's the only way. Let's just take a few moments to explore that image a bit further. Jesus is the vine. Think of all the things that a vine does for the branches. For a start, it gives the branches their identity. If Jesus is the vine, he gives us our identity. We are all branches of the same one vine. We are all part of the same family. Whatever our place of worship, our style of worship, our language of worship, we are all still connected as long as we look to Jesus as the vine who connects us. We have a really good relationship here in Southeast Edinburgh with churches of different denominations through something called CCAT, Southeast Edinburgh Churches Acting Together, and through something called the Big Idea, a collection of churches that engage in mission together. And we get on really well, but the first thing we always ask if a church wants to be part of our fellowship is, do they see Jesus as the true vine? Or in other words, for them, is Jesus Lord? Because if Jesus is just numbered among a number of other things, then we can't be connected to them. That's not how it works. Jesus is the true vine. And if he is the vine, he is the one who feeds us, who sustains us, who nourishes us through his Holy Spirit's presence within us. And if he is the vine, he's the one who holds us up, who supports us, who anchors us, so that we don't lose our way or lose our strength. And if he is the vine, he is the source of our life itself. Without him, our faith soon withers. Without him, our life loses meaning. And finally, if Jesus is the vine and we are the branches, then our meaning and purpose in life is not just to grow, it's to bear fruit. It's to be fruitful, because that is what a vine is for. Experts will tell you that the wood of the vine is useless. You can't do anything with it. The purpose of the vine is solely to bear grapes, to bear fruit. That's our purpose. What does it mean to bear fruit? Well, the simplest way I can sum up, because it can mean a whole bunch of different things, to bear fruit is to multiply Jesus' life-giving presence in the world. To bear fruit is to multiply Jesus' life-giving presence in the world. But as any vine grower will tell you, in order for branches to produce fruit, they have to be regularly pruned back or cleansed. Left on their own, branches will just grow and grow and grow and grow and grow. And yes, they'll look lovely and beautiful and have lovely green leaves, but they won't produce very good grapes because all the strength will go into the branches and none will go into the grapes. In order to produce grapes, you need to prune them back. Jesus said, you have already been pruned through the word I have spoken to you. You've already been cleansed through the word I have spoken to you. In other words, if you are a follower of Jesus, then you already have experienced God's pruning hand at work in your life. You've already experienced a resetting of your priorities so that your priorities are God's priorities, not just your priorities. You've already experienced a refocusing of your purpose in life so that you're living for others. You're not just living for yourself. You have already experienced all that if you are a follower of Jesus. But Jesus is saying here that pruning back needs to be a continuous thing. If you are to produce good fruit, you'd be surprised how easily other priorities creep into your life if you just let them. And then the branches start to grow again and the fruits start to diminish. So pruning is something that we constantly need to allow to happen in our lives, to keep our focus, to keep our purpose, to keep our priorities. How do we do this? How do we constantly be pruned? How do we constantly produce fruit? Well, there's the answer in verse 5. Remain in me, abide in me, says Jesus. In other words, stay close. Don't get disconnected from me. Don't wander off. Don't rely on your own strength. It doesn't work like that. Don't think you can manage without me. Branches cannot manage without the vine they are connected to. Later on in the chapter, he puts it another way. He says, he wants to be one with us in the same way that he is one with his Father. Imagine that. He wants to be one with us. He wants to be our bestie. That's what he wants. That's his heart's desire for us, to be our bestie, to be our best friend. And for that to happen, we need to be willing to have heart-to-hearts with him. We need to be willing to spend time with him. We need to be willing to actually listen to what he's saying to us through his word. We need to make sure the Bible is always close at hand. We need to make sure that it becomes part of us, that it becomes a living thing within us, informing what we do, informing the choices we make. We need to allow God to speak to us through this wonderful book. But we also need to spend time in prayer with him. And prayer, not just at certain times of the day, but prayer continuously. And by that, I mean, and there's so much to prayer that we're going to learn about in the year to come. But simply by that, I mean this idea that God is with you every second of every day, so everything you do can be done prayerfully, connecting to his Holy Spirit who is with you and within you, closer than the very air that you breathe. And here's the thing. As with any best friend, the more time you spend with them, the more you find their friends become your friends. And the more you find their priorities become your priorities. Or to put it another way, the more we look to Jesus, the more we have in common with other people who look to Jesus. And the more we grow in fellowship with them. And the more we look to Jesus, the more we share his priorities for the world round about us. And the more we do that, the more we engage in his mission, the more we produce fruit that will last. And you know, the more we engage in his mission, here's the final thing I want to share. And it is, I think, probably one of the most wonderful promises he gives us, one of the most astonishing promises he gives us. It's there in verse 7. The more we do this, then if you remain in me and my words remain in you, ask whatever you wish and it will be given you. But all these things are connected. It's not just in isolation. Oh, I think I'll ask for a Rolls Royce or something. No, he's talking about mission here. Again, in verse 16, you did not choose me, but I chose you and appointed you to go and bear fruit, fruit that will last. Then the Father will give you whatever you ask in my name. It's all connected. My favorite verse, as you probably know, is verse 5. It's pinned to my study door. It's been pinned to my study door for the last 25 years. I am the vine, you are the branches. If you remain in me and I in you, you will bear much fruit. Apart from me, you can do nothing. We need to abide in Jesus. Then we will bear fruit. We need to engage in his mission. And when we do, we can ask for anything in his name. Because our will be tuned into his will and his purposes for the world. So let's do that right now. Let's do some asking. Let's start as we mean to go on. And there are many ways in which we can pray. But what I'm suggesting now is that each of us, wherever we are, engage in silent prayer with the God who loves us. Ask yourself, ask God what his will is for the year to come. Ask him. And then pray that it comes to pass. Let's do that right now in silence. Loving God, we thank you for those wonderful words of promise, Jesus' own words. That when we are abiding in him, we are so tuned into your will that our prayers become expressions of your desires for the world. So please hear the prayers we have now offered for a better world. We offer them in Jesus' name. Amen.